What do you need to do before you send your team in for care in an unknown environment? Find out on today's episode. This episode, I'm going to talk about the caregivers and the case managers and the calls that we get. What happens with me in my business, frequently I get a call from a case manager who has a patient who's in the hospital, and maybe the patient has already been discharged, and what happens is they send their caregiver, maybe a live-in nurse, it may be a shift worker, and they get into the home and they find out that the home is so unbearable. Maybe there's hoarding situations going on, there's all types of scum and bacteria, toxins lurking around. And what happened was I got a call from a case manager, and she told me that she had two caregivers and they were about to quit. They were gonna walk out. I got the call on a Thursday, and the scenario was basically, if the home doesn't get cleaned by a professional cleaner, by Saturday, they're gone by Saturday, which means that the patient is gonna lose the help that they need. Now, this was a very sticky situation because what we had in that particular house, there was the mother who had dementia, and she was about 82 years old, and the daughter who was maybe about in the 30s, and she had autism, she was autistic. Both of them were hoarders, and they had a love for dogs, so there were dogs, stuffed animals all over the house. And then they had actually two live dogs in the house, but the dogs were in the house, and the dogs were relieving themselves also in the house. So this is unacceptable in terms of care. In any environment, it's difficult for a person who is demented or a person who is autistic to be able to manage the control of a healthy environment on their own. But when you send a nurse in there to have to take care of two people who have mental illness, it exacerbates and complicates the likelihood that any of them will get proper care. Because what happens is the caregiver will have a tendency to not want to provide care. They feel demoralized and they end up quitting. So when I got the call, they were actually gonna leave on Saturday. So when I came in to do the deep cleaning, and I'm the SOS guy, they can call me at a moment's notice, and I'll say, well, let me get out there in a day and take a look at your environment, make an assessment, and get that place healthy so that you don't lose your caregiver, and that you also don't send your caregiver home sick, because that's going to add expense to your operation. Also, you want your caregivers to be able to give adequate care to the patient. And they can't do that if they're subjected to the ills of an environment that's beyond their control. That's basically, when I get a call, oftentimes it's the person who has the home environmental issue may be actually still in the hospital, and the case manager will call me and say, well, we have a patient they're going to discharge in 5 days, but the home is horrific, it's utterly deplorable. And these are their words, the home is utterly deplorable, it's horrific. We had to walk in with masks on, and it's not unusual for me to walk in with shoe covers and mask, and I also suggest that caregivers and case managers, when they walk into these environments, you have to protect yourself from the unknown. There's no way that you know what has gone on in that home, and there's no way to know what you could be picking up on your shoes, on your hands, if you're touching things, and transmitting those to back to your car, you take it back to your home, you take it to the next site. So there's certain precautionary measures that you need to take as you're going into the unknown. And every home that you go into is basically an unknown. We don't have any historical log. Also, there's no record being kept of how frequently, if they have pests and bugs, insects in the house. You have to have a strong stomach to do this, first of all, but you also have to have a passion to know that the end objective is to get that person into safety and into care. And in order for the nurses to go in and give the best possible treatment and care, that environment has to be safe for them. They should not have to worry about whether they're going to catch a disease, whether they're going to be going home sick, whether they're going to go home with something that they didn't encounter on. Anything that strikes you as not being a very happy place, a safe place for you to be in, and you get on the phone, and then that's when you call Hunter Cleaning Services, because we need to go in and make sure that that home is not going to be the source of ongoing health problems. I'm the Incredible Gregory Hunter, so before you send your team in for treatment, make sure it's incredibly clean and safe for both your patient and for your workers.